back, guys. We're here. We're sort of here. I've been working on the website for the gaming channel and been trying to find an article to write for the past hour or article to talk about, and I just saw this come up on PBD's podcast. I was listening to in real time. So let's break it down. Let's blackpill a few people. Dad losing custody for refusing to trans kids or trans his son. A New York father has tragically lost a custody battle for his son after he opposed transgender medication treatment for the young boy who has decided he does not want to live as his biological sex. So you're probably sitting there thinking, oh, that's all right. Like the kid's probably like 14, 16. Oh no, we'll get to the age. Don't you worry. How can any honest, objective individual argue with his decision made in the child's interest? The true account, two genders, one truth, summed up the heartbreaking story of the Hannons, based off the UK Daily Mail article. The young Matthew Hannon's mother began taking the little boy to transgender therapists when he was only 5 years old. That's right, the kid, the dad refusing to transgender his kid. The kid wanted to change his gender when he was 5 years old. I don't even remember what I was doing at 5, let alone being able to make a conscious decision about my sex. So tell me this has nothing to do with the mother. The Daily Mail said that it had changed names for privacy reasons. The astonishment that these 17-year-olds are not considered mature enough to risk drinking alcohol, but 5-year-olds are supposed to be able to be capable of deciding damage to their bodies and cross-dress in a pursuit of fiction that people change genders. The worst part of this is, according to the two genders, one truth, Matthew's father, Dennis, didn't even know his son was being taken to the therapist. That sounds like it has to be illegal, but anyway, it's not apparently. Matthew's mother and father were split up, the Daily Mail explained, though Matthew's mother put him in the girls' clothes from the age of 3. So let me get this straight. The mother is putting their kid in girls' clothes by the age of 3. By the time he's 5, he now wants to not live as a biological boy anymore. It just goes to show that some of it might have been programming, hey? Dennis knew nothing about it, as the boy did not pretend to be a girl when he's with his father. Of course he did not. He didn't have the mother pestering to do it. Dennis accuses Matthew's mother of pressuring their son to identify as transgender. Of course they did. When Matthew was still 5 years old, his mother asked Matthew's school to change his name to Ruby and to use female pronouns in effort to socially transition Tim. Two genders, one truth explained that the image from the Daily Mail shows Matthew when he was being dressed as a girl. The little boy was recommended for puberty blockers before he was 9 years old. There is evidence that the puberty blockers the puberty blockers cause not only delay sexual development, but other serious side effects such as permanent retarded bone growth, infertility, and potential retarded brain development. The evidence shows that the transgenders are at a higher risk of suicide. Dennis Hallen fully discovered something was wrong when he received a letter to the parent or guardian of Ruby Rose Hannon from his son's kindergarten, according to the Daily Mail. At first, the father thought the letter had been mailed to the wrong address, but then found out that Matthew was on the fast track to puberty blockers, despite never being diagnosed with gender dysphoria or any medical professions. It's been a nightmare, Mr. Hannon said to the Daily Mail. It's completely destroyed my life. I would say that in this situation, also, guys, this is why screening women that you date is a massive thing. And I don't sit there, I'm not talking about you sitting there asking them 5 questions when you're on the first date. You have to be on the lookout for progressive women posing as trad-cons. Especially if you're more conservative, which I presume my audience probably is. At the end of the day, you have to make sure you do not have a wolf in sheep's clothing. Make sure that your wife is actually a trad-con, if you want that, and not a progressive posing as one. And we'll bring up a clip later showing you what I mean. It's very clear to me that it was all pushing a narrative. Nobody wanted to question the agenda or even question whether or not somebody actually had gender dysphoria. It was actually because she said that it was compared to a narrative of the gender or someone was actually dysphoria. It was just because she said that he was comfortable about his gender. It must be true. Well, of course, he's had his mum putting him in dresses since he was 3. Dennis said, according to the Daily Mail, he accused Matthew's mother of shopping around until she found a therapist who would give her the woke advice she wanted. Makes you wonder too, right? My son is regular little boy. He goes by Matthew. His mother still tries to influence him by using they pronouns and still calls him B, which is short for Ruby. Dennis said, noting how difficult it has been for school for Matthew following the previously enforced cross-dressing. The Daily report that Dennis Holland no longer has joint custody or any medical authority over Matthew. I do wonder what's going to happen in the future with all these kids that have been forced onto this. Like, besides the fact that they'll probably vote Republican, but like, is there going to be like massive lawsuits? Are we going to have like a massive increase, like Munchausen's syndrome, right? Is that a form of this? Are kids going to be like later turning around suing their mum or dad or both because of the fact that they were pushed into this? Makes you wonder. The court sided with the woke mother against both the child and his father. What happened to Matthew was child abuse. Yeah, it makes you wonder. Yet his only advocate, his father, was the one punished. The transgender identity is destroying a child's life. At a note, the destructive transgender identity is at war with reality, supports PJ Merkel's conservative reporting. So I think this is part of Paul Joseph Watson. But yeah, like I say, at the end of the day, although it does have a American thing there, right? So at the end of the day, I was going to say, yeah, look, obviously this is absolutely disgusting. Now, obviously, this is what, people always say to me, was like, how come you can't find a decent wife? I'm like, well, because most women are batshit crazy. No offense, but they are. I do want to play this video clip of a conservative woman on the Whatever podcast, and we'll break it down too.
And she's conservative, can't 100% pinpoint, but something is wrong with her in the head. Her dad is a good citizen to disown her.
Oh my
Her tombstone will say from the streets she did emerge and to the streets she will return.
Okay, poet.
Do you have a response?
I could just
Roast
never
back.
have it in me to be that rude or mean. And
you
you
have
have no insight onto like my
The poetry
3 abortions.
that
And I am very conservative and I am Republican.
Right. Okay. That's one example. All right, guys. So here's one example. It's not the one I was thinking of, but here's one of a girl who claims to be conservative and Republican, and has yet had 3 abortions.
This lowlife has 3 abortions and she's conservative, can't 100% pinpoint, but something is wrong with her in the head. Her dad is a good citizen to disown her.
Oh my
Her tombstone will say from the streets she did emerge and to the streets she will return.
Okay, poet.
Do you have a response?
I could just
Roast
never
back.
have it in me to be that rude.
Now, notice she hasn't actually rebutted what he said. She's like, oh my God, that's just so rude. But you know, he has a point. You're a conservative, and yet you're claiming that you've had 3 abortions.
Or mean.
He's-
You have no insight onto like my
The poetry.
3 abortions.
Well, I would say that the insight is probably that you spread your legs, had unprotected sex, and got pregnant 3 times.
And I am very conservative, and I am Republican, and
What? Really? And this is what we're talking about with like women in like wolves in sheep's clothing, right? Is that this girl actually thinks that she's Republican or conservative, and yet one of the things that conservative and Republicans actually sort of like push themselves on is like being anti-abortion, right? Or some of them are, most of them are. And like, you know, like she's not only had just like 1 and not for like medical reasons, but like she's had 3. The chances that she's had 3 abortions because of medical reasons, I seriously doubt.
I still stand by that.
Wait,
So
quit. Okay, hold on. I got to push back a little bit here.
please.
When you got the 3, did you consider yourself conservative at the time?
Yeah, that's never changed.
But aren't conservatives
Pro-life.
pro-choice? Or sorry, pro-life, excuse me.
Pro-life, yes, they are.
Well, you
How
don't
do you
have just because
reconcile
all of
that?
them are pro-life doesn't mean.
Wait, are you,
they
is
all
that
have to be the
serious? Like, do you
exact
guys
same
not
thing.
understand that? Like, being
not-
conservative
Doesn't mean
like,
everyone has the same.
I was not in the
core
position.
values.
The babies weren't safe. I wasn't safe. I'm not gonna bring a kid in for.
What she means by she's not safe is the fact that she didn't have money.
Does that not make sense?
Just because you're conservative doesn't mean you agree with everything. I feel like it's so divided. Like if you're conservative
Wait,
or
it wasn't
liberal,
safe.
you have to
I
agree
wasn't
100%
financially
on
stable.
both.
Yeah.
So that's what I meant. She wasn't financially stable. Had nothing to do with being safe. It had the fact that she wasn't financially stable. But you can't tell me she couldn't go back to her mum and dad, live with her parents, raise the kid, put the kid up for for adoption. Like, there's so many other options you could have done besides the abortion, right? Look, don't get me wrong. Look, I think that women should be able, if they were raped, yes. If they have medical reasons, yes. I think they should be able to have an abortion. But at the end of the day, you've had 3. And you're claiming to be conservative. I don't even claim to be conservative. I claim to be liberal. Like, as in, like, centrist. And even I'm like, no, darling, you're not conservative. No, sorry, you're not. You're not.
Yeah, but
Aren't those,
conservatives
like-
are naturally pro-life.
Would you ever
people.
consider like a surrogate or adoption?
A surrogate is when you choose. I couldn't have given the baby to someone.
Adoption,
Like,
just adoption.
So you're pro-choice.
would I consider adopting?
Adoption. Adoption.
Carrying out the pregnancy.
Oh.
I like how the fact that she's deliberately playing dumb. Like, would I adopt? No. Would you give it up for adoption?
Pro-choice.
like-
I don't know if I could. I don't know if I could do that.
If that's like if that.
I don't know if I could do that. Oh, but I can abort. But I don't know if I could give it to someone else to raise.
That
Well,
really
that's
checks
I
out.
think,
yeah.
but
But are
that
you
point-
pro-choice conservative?
Yeah, I would have to call that selfish if you wouldn't consider adoption,
Yeah.
but you
Yeah.
chose to abort the baby.
Well, and that makes me selfish. I'm still conservative, and yes, I had 3 abortions.
I get it sometimes whenever there's like a.
But
your
you're
body,
pro-life.
Like because I know some women can't go through pregnancy with
could
like
actually
their body.
get
Like physically can't, but
I
that's
think
different.
I've never ever been through that, so I can't say much. But I think that would take such a long.
These other women are trying so hard to make out that, oh no, she's conservative, don't worry. They know full well she's not.
like thought process on like abortion or like adoption.
It
Sorry.
didn't take me much. It didn't. Yeah. No.
But, no, you know, like I feel like that's such a hard like decision. But like it never crossed your mind, like ever,
What?
like to like adoption.
That did cross my mind.
It did, yeah.
Absolutely.
But you said it didn't take much thought.
No. I had my mind. I had my mind made up.
3 times?
110%. I would stand by that with my chest
But-
out.
3 times. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. I think you actually start damaging your ability to have kids after 3 abortions, don't you?
Isn't
Shoulders
it
back.
pretty like one of the central pillars of conservatism is
More so
pro-
traditionality.
and
I would say
traditional-
tradition rather than yeah.
Well, I mean, like if you're
I went against that, and I
conservative-
still consider myself
So you
conservative.
consider,
Is
wait,
that
do you
confusing?
do you consider
Look,
yourself
that's-
pro-life?
I don't want to answer that question
Wait.
based on my past
Pro-choice?
experiences.
Obviously, she's not. If she's had abortions, she's obviously not pro-life. She's had 3 abortions, she's definitely not pro-life. But this is what I'm talking about. I'm conservative, guys! But I've had 3 abortions. And there was another time where there was another one that comes on the podcast where she actually goes through and she has an OnlyFans while being supposedly conservative. I'll see if I can find that for you now as well. Right, okay, so I think this might be it here. Let's look at this.
So, Christy, I think the big thing that we argued on last show is, so you do OF, you have adult content, and you described yourself as conservative and traditional. I think the big sticking point last show was that we rejected your title of being considered traditional.
Yeah.
So you consider yourself traditional, but you post very revealing photos online and you have an OnlyFans. So I guess my question again is, how do you continue to reconcile your basically doing porn and also being traditional?
So I'm a monogamous, and like I think that just because I have an OnlyFans, people think I'm like having sex with all these people. Like I'm literally only having sex with my boyfriend. I would never let my boyfriend have sex with someone, or I have sex with someone if I'm in a relationship.
So let me get this straight. It's okay if I have an OnlyFans as a conservative traditional woman because I'm only showing content with me doing my boyfriend? Some of these faces kind of like say more than, yeah. They're like, seriously, bitch?
I'm not into that. I want to raise my family very traditionally. I believe that the man
I want to raise my family traditionally, but I'm going to have naked photos of me on the internet.
is the leader of the household and the woman should be the caretaker. Like, I'm going to raise a very traditional family. Just because I have OnlyFans with my boyfriend, now ex-boyfriend, that's not going to change how I...
By the way, they broke up. Who would have thought? OnlyFans breaks up marriages and relationships. Who would have thought?
Raise my children, or how our household is. Like, we're going to have a traditional household.
Would you
I don't think it's the monogamy that's in question. It's the fact that you have an OnlyFans.
Yeah.
That's what's in question.
See,
Like,
here's
we're
the
traditional.
definition of conservative: a person favoring free enterprise, private ownership, and socially traditional ideas. Also averse to change or innovation and holding traditional values. Now, when I think of traditional values, I don't typically think that like doing
Getting your back blown out on the internet is what he means. Is not traditional. I'll say it like it is.
adult content and only
I swear, if I was ever on this podcast, these women would be like bawling their eyes out because I'd be so fucking blunt and honest.
fans falls in the lane of tradition, of being traditional.
I think people are just mad because I don't fit into a box and they wanted to like fit me into some sort
You're the one trying to put yourself in the box. You're the one using the labels of conservative and traditional. Not other people. You're the one that's labelled that yourself. Don't get upset when you get called out for not being traditional or conservative because you have an OnlyFans. And that's what I'm saying, guys, is going back to this story here. You've got to be really careful who you wife up. Because at the end of the day, you could end up in this situation where you lose the custody of your son because you're refusing to transition your kid because your wife or your partner or your future wife or future partner is more progressive than you originally thought it was. And I would say some of this, it's not the dad's fault, but some of the fault does fall on the dad for not going through and not venting his partner. You know, at the end of the day, the dad is so responsible here because he decided to have a wife with this kid, wife with this lunatic, who is transitioning his son, and he should have known earlier on she's probably not the best person to have a kid with. But at the end of the day, it's a massive loss for the family. I imagine what's going to happen is that this kid is going to grow up, going to be all sorts of God knows what effed up, and Hopefully I'm wrong, but I can't imagine the kid seeing his 25th, 30th birthday without being massive amounts of depression or even still alive. But guys, let me know what your thoughts are in that comment section below. But as for the dad, look, if you do see this video for some reason, bro, you gotta pick better women. Don't pick these liberal, left-leaning lunatics that want to transition kids. But guys, let us know what your thoughts are in that comment section below. Obviously, the video's been helpful. Please smack that like button. If you're new to the channel, welcome and subscribe. Apart from that, guys, we'll see you in the next demonetized video from YouTube.